The federal government has scrapped the Navy's ill-fated Seasprite helicopter program at a cost of $1 billion. Defence Minister Joel Fitzgibbon made the announcement this morning. The helicopters have been plagued with problems, they've never made it into operational service, and Defence chiefs did recommend that the project be dumped. In Canberra, Sabra Lane reports.
11 years ago, the Howard federal government signed a contract worth $667 million to buy 11 Seasprite naval helicopters. They're now worth $1 billion, given the millions the government spent trying to fix them. The helicopters were unveiled in 2003 by then Defence Minister Robert Hill, who described the choppers as arguably the most advanced maritime aircraft in the world. Yet major flaws quickly emerged. They couldn't even fly simple operations, and naval chiefs said they didn't meet basic requirements. Today, Defence Minister Joel Fitzgibbon cancelled the contract.
Yesterday, the National Security Committee of the Cabinet took the decision to terminate the Seasprite helicopter project. After months of thorough examination, we've come to the conclusion that this is the only decent outcome for the Australian Defence Force and, of course, for the Australian taxpayer.
Alan Beam is a former senior defence policy official and now an independent advisor on strategy and risk.
I think it's about time for the Seasprite program to be killed off and to be buried. It has been an unmitigated disaster. Over $1 billion has been spent on a capability which evidently would never be delivered. And so I think it is time that we moved on and acquired a helicopter capability for the Navy which will actually deliver to Australia what Australia needs.
How would you describe them? Could they fly at all?
They could fly, but they couldn't do the sorts of things that they were designed to do. They couldn't operate in certain sea states and in certain weather conditions. The field of vision for pilots was extremely narrow and restricted for night flying. Altogether, they were simply underperforming. I think much of the problem was that we chose a very old airframe in which we thought we might be able to build very modern, up-to-date systems, and that was simply impossible. It would be very similar to deciding to buy a suit and then starting off with the coat hanger.
Former Defence Minister and now Opposition Leader Brendan Nelson had recommended the project be scrapped.
This isn't unexpected. The previous Minister for Defence in the Howard government tried to do this too and was rolled by Cabinet.
That's Neil James. He's the Executive Director of the Australia Defence Association.
Well, it's about $1 billion down the drain, but that's the financial cost. The actual more important cost is the operational capability one. No matter whether the Seasprites are cancelled or not, there'll be about a 3-year gap before we can get enough new helicopters to put on the frigate fleet. And, of course, the new helicopters are going to cost, several hundred millions of dollars, possibly near $1 billion.
What is the solution? Do we have to put up with that 3-year gap? Is there anything we can do in the interim?
Maritime helicopters aren't something you can go into Woolworths and buy off the shelf. Unfortunately, we're just going to have to put an order in and get some more, and there is a time gap involved in that.
And Alan Beam says there are lessons to be learned.
We have got to have very, very much better approaches to the management of risk. I don't believe that there was nearly enough consideration given to the risk of this project at the very beginning, and of course that's now a decade ago. I think we also have to have very, very much better waypoints in the delivery of these programs so that the taxpayer is not left with a huge bill years after the project is supposed to have been delivered. This thing should have been stopped about 8 years ago.
That's the former Senior Defence Department official Alan Beam, ending that report by Sabra Lane.